Finer points of installing the Dieselgeek Super Slider. This is the early Super Slider that goes on the Mk4s and early Mk5s. The other slider for the later cars it looks very similar to this. So the thing that you need to know about the Super Slider is that the Super Slider was made to fit perfectly in the gap of your front to back bracket. So this gap right here is it's a little over 14 millimeters. So the part fits in that gap perfectly without any slop, whereas the stock slider has a little bit of up and down slop, especially the older ones, if you've used them a bunch of years. So because we made it exactly the same as the gap, maybe a thousandth less than the gap, you need to make sure when you go to install it that you clean the surfaces of the gap. A lot of times they don't have full contact because the way this is made, it has a pivot like this, and because there's a little bit of room in there, rust can build up on the inside. And so what you need to do before you install the Super Slider onto the bell crank, which is right here, you need to go and take the Super Slider and just slide it through the groove of the shifter bracket. You can do this while it's still on the transmission. I just have these out for the sake of the video. But you need to just put it in the groove and then slide it back and forth. And just make sure that it slides all the way through the groove before you install it. Because if you don't, you're going to have stiffness in the side-to-side direction because this thing is going to be struggling to make it through the gap. So that's why you just need to clean this out. You can use a wire brush like this and just get in there and just wire brush until you can put the Super Slider in there and it slides freely. You can get a Dremel tool and run a Dremel tool through there. That's maybe even a little faster. You can use a little wire brush like this and just get it good and clean. And then I recommend just putting a thin smear of grease, both top and bottom, in the groove to keep the rust from starting again. The fact that you have full contact will probably mean that rust won't ever start there again, but it's not a bad idea because there's going to be some pitting to go ahead and just put a thin smear of grease in there just to keep the rust from happening again. And once you've done that, and this can go back and forth without an issue, then you can go ahead and install it on your bell crank and go ahead and put your car back together, and that will be perfect. That's it.